Alright, timestamp. It's October 8th, a little bit after 11 p.m., 2024. We've got Hurricane Milton. Hey, Stevie. Got Hurricane Milton north of Cancun, Mexico area, starting to come up northeast, towards the west side of Florida. Hey, Jinx. It did a little bit of a wobble earlier, where it was going along that tip of Mexico, and it went, and that maybe, it still could hit Tampa Bay, but it looks like that's what shifted the impact area further south to where, jinx, he's hitting me with his tail and it tickles him. Thank you, stop that. But it looks like that's what shifted the current track, the general consensus. This is still a storm, which is like trying to predict a wild animal at times. Been in Florida long enough to know that one. But so it looks like, and there's a cold front basically along the southern border of the U.S., which is kind of pushing down on it. And I guess no, I don't need you up here, Kaiser. You don't get on the stove. That's not how this works. But I guess the cold air and or the high wind from the cold front doesn't react well with hurricanes. It actually tends to slow them down, break them up a little bit. So between that and other current factors, I've been watching Eggheads all day, in between getting stuff prepped and ready and all that. It looks like it's going to take it from a Category 5 right now. 165 mile an hour winds currently, which is terrifying, actually. Because that is very much, I think I mentioned that scene from Twister, and I know that tornadoes and hurricanes aren't the same thing. I'm well aware of that. But, they're talking about the different categories of tornadoes because they almost parallel to a degree. And the one character very soberly, when asked, what's a Category 5 like? And he says, a finger of God. And Pix was stationed down at Homestead when Andrew went through. And she grabbed a couple trash bags full of what was near and dear, and her cat hopped in her truck and got out of there when they finally got the orders that they could leave. And she pretty much came back to rubble. So it's before I met her, but seen before pictures of her house that she was renting. Nothing fancy, nice little cottage kind of thing. Destroyed. So if it was if they thought it was going to be a Category 5, we would have already been in the car and heading north. We are in Town and Country, which is part of Hillsborough County. We're like in that BC, we're like on the line of BC evacuation. If it veers and heads more towards Tampa, even at a Cat 3, I could lose my house. So it's just a wood frame. If we start getting like 120 mile an hour winds sustained, I don't know. We've never been through that here. We went through Irma and Ian, and Irma was a 2, and it did kind of go right over us. That was a scary couple hours because it just sounded like a freight train full of ghosts. outside just pouring it on. Now, one thing they're saying is if it does hit Manatee, Sarasota, Bradenton, because that's right now where it shifted, where the focus would be. We're still in like the north eye wall area. And what they're saying is that we're probably going to get 10 to even 20 inches of rain. We shouldn't see the storm surge because that's going to be south. Still got a lot of friends down in Bradenton, Manatee County. And if it stays on this track, dear God in heaven, if you're like near the shore, get the hell out of there. Because as a Cat 3, it's going to punch you in the face. Kaiser, we're okay, but you can't come up here. You know that. Kitties don't get on the stove. Yeah, I don't care what Hex tells you. He's lying. I think the cats are all a little nervous, freaked out. Probably because we're nervous and they feel it. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. You can say hi to the nice people. That's Kaiser. He is the old man of the house now that my girl's gone. And he is actually he is the last surviving son of Lorgia that I know of. He's coming up on 14 years old. Because we actually had 3 of Lorgia's kittens. Lorgia was my old lady tabby cat. She died in May. She was 17. And I miss the hell out of her still. Yeah, she was one of those special ones for me. Yeah, she's been in my life for a third of my life. That's kind of significant. Because I'm not 20. But yeah, Kaiser is... We had Oz and Shadow. And they passed over the past couple years, so... They would have been 15 or so. They were like part of Lorgia's 3rd litter or something like that. She was an outdoor cat for the first several years, so... And my girl was a tramp in her youth. She had some ink, above her tail. You get it. I think it said like Tom's Welcome or something like that, But, yeah, so if it was, and we still might get in the car and skedaddle. I know we're pushing it time-wise, but if it starts veering north to where it looks like we're going to get more direct impact, I can't take a chance with my family. Right now, I'm watching it carefully, obviously. I've been tuned into, 10 on Tampa Bay, or 10 for Tampa Bay, whatnot. They're doing a lot of really great coverage. And there's another guy who goes by, his YouTube channel is Mr. Weatherman, which sounds goofy as hell, but this guy is, and he works with one of the stations. He has links to like live feeds and apps and things like that with the station he works at. Really good at breaking it down. And he doesn't, make you want to pull your hair out listening to him. He gives you really good information. But, so the main thing we'd have to worry about is some wind, which still has me worried again. I've got trees und a wood frame house, which, foresight, hindsight, 20-something-year-old me wasn't thinking about hurricanes when I bought the house. True story. Yeah, Mothra. Colorado's starting to sound really good. This is nuts. But yeah, today I was prepping food. I'm going to be be doing some more of that tomorrow morning. Basically, stuff that's in the fridge, stuff that's in the freezer. We got a stand-up freezer. Had it for years, and had it since Irma. And one of the great things that we discovered, because with Irma we lost, that was in 2017, I think, something like that. We lost power for like 5 days. One of the cool things, literally, was that stand-up freezer, with the way it's insulated, it actually stayed icy the whole time. Power was out, but it acted like a cooler on crack, to where we actually were able to keep food alive. We couldn't throw it in the microwave or whatnot, but we had a little hibachi grill, whatnot, and we could actually heat up stuff, because we had picks. Having been through Andrew, she picked up a few tips along the way. We pre-made a huge, mixing bowl full of rice, and we had some other foodstuffs that we had pre-made, and we'd add, chicken and corn to the rice and some barbecue sauce or something. We'd mix it up, put it on the hibachi grill, and just let it heat up. Fed us for days. And I've got 2 piranha that live with us. Did pretty good. Had an idea earlier today too, because no matter what, we're gonna be having wind, whether it's 40 miles an hour or 110 miles an hour. There will be wind. Now, wind like that can pick things up and throw them, like Hulk with an attitude. And okay, our trash pickup in this area is on Wednesdays. That's when they pick up recycle too, because we're one of those special communities that has a trash hopper and a recycle hopper, which is awesome. Bothers me when places don't have that, just because we should know better by now. I know our recycling as a country, we don't really have that on track like we should, but when an area doesn't have the ability to recycle, it kind of pisses me off, because we should be doing that. Here's the thing though, they normally pick up on Wednesday. They're not coming. They already posted they're not going to be doing pickup, which I don't blame them. I get it. But I had this idea because both the cans are, half full or more. So I drilled a hole. I'm sure it's going to invalidate the warranty. I'll live. I hope that's the idea. But I drilled a hole through the hatch where it connects. If you have one of these things, where you normally can put your hand underneath to pull it forward. I drilled a hole through. And I ran a zip tie. Got some of the nice big, 1/4-inch zip tied those things shut, because I really don't want to, number one, give extra bullets to the Hulk if it goes through our neighborhood, and also I don't want to have to pick up my own trash out of my own front yard. I think I understand how to avoid that. Hopefully it'll work. I'll let you know. I mowed the lawn today too, which I know a couple of our neighbors think that I'm nuts on that one, but it was Pix's idea and I think she's right. Okay, so like I said, we're kind of on that BC line. They've done mandatory evacuation A and B. We were at the taxi the other day. We were helping out at another store, and Andrea, the assistant manager, and a newer employee needed rides home because this was the store was further away than they're used to going to also, and we are the ones with a car, so we dropped them off at home. And the young man who is about to become a dad, this is great timing. I wish nothing but safety and health for he and his girl. He showed us pictures. She's about to pop. They just had a baby shower like 2 weeks ago. I mean, she is hiding a motorcycle helmet under her blouse. On the way, yeah, we're doing sunflowers today. On the way home from dropping him off, we went through some neighborhoods we hadn't gone through before. Probably about 4 miles away from our house. It maybe 5. I don't know. And you see the footage, aftermath of Helene, which, for historical reasons, in case you're tuning into this and don't know what's going on, Helene, H, Milton, M. Helene was a hurricane that hit the northern area of Florida, the Panhandle area, about 2 weeks ago, and plowed through Georgia and the Carolinas. I want to say last I heard there were like 2,000 dead or something like that. It's huge amount. There are entire towns that are now mud and rubble. Because apparently, and this is from a science standpoint neat and also terrifying, they created what the meteorologists are calling a brown ocean effect, which is there was so much rain preceding it like a harbinger, and it hit areas that hadn't really seen this kind of moisture and this kind of storm before, at least not on this level. Now, what gives a hurricane its power typically? Hold on. I thought one of my boys was coming in. What gives a hurricane its power is it sucks up moisture, and that typically is like fuel for it. So all this rain that preceded it created a huge swath of basically mud, a brown ocean. Mud is earth with water. So as this hurricane was moving across the Carolinas, normally when a hurricane moves, this is for people that don't live in Florida, Georgia, whatnot, that have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Normally when a hurricane starts walking across land, it starts losing intensity and dying because it can't refuel itself. It just kind of peters out. Because of the mud, some of you may be reading ahead, it was sucking up the moisture out of the mud and maintaining its strength and continuing to barrel forward. So you have areas of the Carolinas, and I think even into Kentucky, they don't normally go that far north, not like this. Maybe they came in on the East Coast, but they die quickly going in. This thing refueled itself all the way up. A lot of damage, a lot of people. So, not good, obviously. But back to what I was getting at. Seen footage for 2 weeks now of the homes that weren't destroyed, that were just only, as if that were, any kind of comfort for the people that I'm talking about. Houses were intact, but they had standing water, or flood or storm surge. Some cases mudslides. And, a week after the storm, they've got all of their furniture basically on the curb because it was all destroyed. The house may be intact, but everything that was in it got thrown in the soup. And that was, kind of a sobering thing to see. That was on the news. dropping off this young man, driving through a neighborhood again 5 miles away from my house where we had never, I don't think I've ever been down those streets before. And there were a couple streets where an entire house full of furniture was on the curb. And he said that the area had flooded pretty bad. So what I'm getting at is such a long-winded thing, but hey, we're having a conversation. Hello again, Jinx. So, town and country can flood. Can. And areas of it do. Our street is really weird in a great way, in that, and we just have the one side. The other side is like woods and like some businesses. Our street doesn't typically flood. The woods across the street have like a lot of ditches, and there's like a creek that goes through, and the creek is always really, really, really low, like 15, 20 feet low. Like you could slide 15 feet, 20 feet down the bank and then get into the brown water, which is so popular here in Central Florida. And I think that grabs a lot of the water in our area so that it doesn't go other places that we don't want it. Which, obviously, by the way I'm putting that, that's great. So a lot of the streets around where we are flood, but our street typically doesn't. Our street typically becomes this weird island. I've been through this with Ian, Irma, and I think there was another one where, now mind you, we can't go anywhere. we can visit with our neighbors, but it's very, what is that Twilight Zone episode? The Good Life? Yeah, I think it's The Good Life. It's the one with a very young Bill Mummy being a terrifying godlike child. It's like our street's the only one that exists, because no one can get in, no one can get out. Which, as long as you're prepared, isn't so bad. You're not going to the mall, and if you're without power, it is what it is. But we don't flood. We just become isolated. You could leave the neighborhood if you have like a kayak or something. Maybe one of those inflatables probably work okay. A raft, not the other kind of inflatable. I'm looking at you, Russ. I know you. Just mess with you. He calls her Sophie. So, I'm going to get flack for that, I know it. Yeah, so kind of anticipate that might be our situation. We may wind up being an island. Hopeful not to become an island, but that's maybe our worst case scenario. That'd be swell. But I'm gonna sign off here. I'm gonna go to bed here pretty soon, but I'm kind of waiting. I know they were gonna be NOAA, whatnot. They were gonna be putting out like an 11 o'clock update. So I'm waiting for the news channels to like process that so that they can post this is what we think. Because I think NOAA just kind of does like the brass tacks, and then the meteorologists in the area kind of interpret it. But yeah, so I wanted to get that out there. At the moment, we're okay. Watching it carefully because a storm like this is like voodoo. I think it's gonna go south even more, I hope. And that's not me saying, yeah, Fort Myers, you're in trouble. But here's the thing: the way the cold front, the wind shears, and all that work, the more south it pushes it, the weaker it makes the storm as well. And we're better off. I mean, right now, again, it looks like a 3 hitting Sarasota. That ain't great. If a 2 hits Fort Myers, that's better for everyone. Because here's the thing, if we get that 3 hitting Sarasota, Fort Myers is still going to feel the effect as though a 2 hit it. Just like if a 4 were to hit Tampa, Sarasota is going to feel like a 3 or 4 hit it. So everyone should want it to go as south as possible, because that means it's getting weaker on impact. Not wishing ill on anyone. It just, if you're going to get hit with a 2, isn't it better if you get hit with a 2 and everybody else gets the effect of a 1? Or would you prefer that people got hit with a 4 and you got a 2 because you were further away? If that makes sense. I think it makes sense. I don't know. So yeah. So if Sarasota Manatee gets hit with a 3, we're going to be getting up here in Tampa, from what I'm picking up, if they are in fact putting this down. I think Tampa itself is going to get hit with like a 1-2 level. That's kind of what I think they're getting at. Because, you know, the area, my youngest and I were talking about it, it's like AOE, you know. So he's always surprised when I use gaming terms. It's weird. I was playing D&D when I was 11. That was, 1981. I know what AOE is. Anyway, I'm going to go check the Weather Channel stuffs. Then I'm going to grab a nap, and because tomorrow I need to do dishes. I don't want any dirty dishes in the sink. Got some other prep stuff to do, a little bit more food stuff. I'm going to be cramming the freezer, and we're going to try and eat anything and everything that might be in the fridge, because if we do lose power, which honestly it's likely, even if we get hit with like 1 Hurricane 1 level soup, probably going to lose power, at least for a day or 2 or 14, don't know. So got a lot of canned goods. If I'm eating room temperature black beans, so be it. Fry up some sausage. Actually, that wouldn't be so bad. Open a can of black beans, dip the sausage, because it always has that like juice, whatnot. Fry up some sausage, make them like sausage sticks or wedges like you do with carrots, and peanut butter and all that. Celery, It's a thought. In a pinch, Anyway. Please, 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 friends, stay safe. Best you can. Keep your eyes on the news. And if you have to floor it to get the hell out of somewhere, do it. Get away from this thing. No matter where it hits, it's going to be ugly. Okay? And on that note, make it a great day.